Great. I know people will still
Jeffrey.
be. I know people will still be joining us. We've got some partners also popping into the call here, but we're going to go ahead and kick off here. And I want to welcome everyone to DC Green Bank's 2022 annual public hearing. I will hand it off to our interim CEO and Chief Financial Officer in a minute. I just want to give you some of the logistics for the call. The call is being recorded and it will be shared on our website afterwards. We will also post the slides that we're going to be using for the conversation as well. If you have questions throughout, you can use the Q&A function at the bottom of your screen. And that should alert us that you have a question, and we can then promote you to be able to ask that question live during the call. Okay, if you don't want to be ask the question live, then we can read it out loud and we can direct it where it needs to go. So we want to thank everybody for joining us, and we're excited to share information about our impact. And with that, I'm going to hand it off to our interim CEO and Chief Financial Officer, Jean Nelson Uper.
Thank you so much, Gary, and welcome and thank you all for joining our 2022 annual public hearing. In particular, I want to thank our board of directors for their support and their strategic guidance, as well as communities across the district that engage with our team and provided invaluable input for our work over the last year. Each year, we host an annual public hearing to update the community on our performance, our impact, and to look ahead to our shared, clean, green, and inclusive future. And most importantly, to provide an opportunity for the community to provide feedback and guidance to us directly on how we're performing in the communities. We held our last public hearing in June of 2021. And at that time, we had committed just under $4 million in capital. Since that time, we have committed more than $27 million in 1 year, delivering expected $130 million in expected investments across the district. This investment comes with tremendous benefit for our climate, our economy, and our communities. We are proud of our growth and are excited about the possibilities for 2023, working with various partners and communities organizations across the district. Looking back, you will hear during the course of our presentation about what we have achieved in the last year through our investments and projects. You will hear about examples of critical role that we play to accelerate the green transition and touches every corner of the district. You will also hear from DCGB project and financing partner to illustrate what we can achieve together. However, the role of our meeting here and for green financing in general is not only about looking back, but also to look forward about what we can achieve to help the district achieve their financing and GHG reductions. Looking forward, DCGB is focused on a number of areas. Approximately 75% of the district's emission comes from our built environment. And we are ready to ensure that the sector is prioritized in our investment, green building sector we're talking about here. We are proud to be working with our friends at DOEE and DCSEU to deliver critical impacts for affordable housing buildings across the district through our Affordable Housing Retrofit Accelerator. We are hard at work with our partners to ensure that these community assets are prioritized and not left behind any in the transition in our green economy and clean future. On the electrification front, through discussion with key advocates as well as City Council, we committed in 2022 to remove on-site fossil fuels from our future project pipeline. This is a critical step to accelerate the transition to a cleaner and more equitable future for the residents of the district. We will continue our investment in equitable deployment of renewable energy through the Solar for All program and beyond, which include considering how the monetary and other benefit of the clean energy flow to communities. And we will have partners who will testify on that about our Solar for All success in this area. We will continue our investment in the stormwater as well. As our climate changes and sea level rises, anyone who lives in the district know if we have a storm, the streets are flooded. So we will continue to focus on the impact of stormwater runoff and flooding and work with our partners to get more stormwater projects in our pipeline. We will hear from one of our partners here later in the hearing about our commitment to the stormwater projects in the district. On clean transportation, this is a new technology for us, so we're feverishly figuring out how to mirror some of our partners, other green banks who have already stand up this clean transportation program. This is a critical sector for us, and it will keep our city moving in the right direction. Innovation, as the green economy stood up or standing up, there are a lot of new innovation, whether it's the cutting edge of solar storage project, virtual power plant, geothermal, and other community-wide intervention. We are feverishly gathering information and figuring out how we can participate in some of these new technologies and innovation. Federal funding. The federal funds coming from the bipartisan infrastructure law, the Inflation Reduction Act, and the Emerging Greenhouse Gas Reduction Funds, National Green Bank, will be critical component of our future success and to the scaling of the impact that we are mandated to do in the city. We are already preparing under the leadership of our board and in partnership with our colleagues at DOEE to receive and deploy large-scale funding that help us to rapidly scale our impact across the district, while keeping our focus on disadvantaged community and prioritizing the climate benefits to those communities. We're working hard with building the pipeline of projects and partners. As the federal dollars come online and the urgency for climate action continues, we see part of our role is supporting the development of projects and community partners that are able to develop and bring these projects to us. This will take time, patience, and capacity to build our infrastructure to make sure that we're developing innovative business model to ensure that the financial risk and the community rewards and benefits are weighed appropriately and that we're not leaving any communities behind. We are excited to work with our colleagues in the city government, communities, and partners to ensure that we're contributing effectively to the existing and emerging programs that are out there, figure out how we can adapt some of these policies. There are green banks and other organizations that are ahead of us in some of these innovative programs. So what we've been doing in the last 2 months is reaching out to these green banks and other agencies to figure out how can we adapt some of those programs without starting from scratch. And we've been very successful doing that. In closing, we are excited to welcome partners to present and join the conversation with our team, our board, and everyone on this call. We want to thank you all for joining to have, an open discussion, ask questions. I want to especially thank our partners, Volt Energy, Green Compass, Medici Road, Flywheel Development, and City First Enterprise for taking the time to be a part of our 2022 public hearing. Gary, back to you. That was my opening speech.
Thanks, Jean. Really appreciate that. And it sets the stage for a nice hearing today, in particular, highlighting our partners, but also the guidance and strategic leadership that we get from our board. And you'll see on your screen that several of them have been able to join us today. I see our board chair, Brandy Colander. I see our board secretary, Ed Hubbard. I see Priya Jayachandran. I see Jonathan Kane, Todd Monash, Ari Gerstmann, Rick Noguera, and Carmen Pigler. So thank you to you all for your support over the last year and for being a part of this discussion today. And I want to open it up now for an opportunity for board members to talk about what they have seen over the last year, what they're proud about, and what they're looking forward to over the next year about their role and the impact that DC Green Bank can have. And Brandy, as chair, if there's something that you want to share, please go first, then we can open the floor to other board members who want to speak.
Thank you, Gary. I appreciate that. We're really excited about Jean stepping in this interim capacity and continuing to execute against the goals we have. We're continuing to make deep investments across the district. And I want to just also acknowledge the hard work of the team. There's been a lot of transition to date, but we know that you all have been operating as one unit, moving in lockstep, making deep commitments and investment from a community investment perspective, but also the developers that are on the call today. And so as we scale the pipeline from a solar perspective, energy efficiency, and new technologies, really excited and encouraged to know that we have strong leadership at the helm. And also just what a moment from a Green Bank perspective writ large, in light of a lot of the regulatory opportunities that are coming online because of the IRA. And I think we'll be thought partners as we look to national Green Bank activity and what this can mean from a climate mitigation perspective. So I'll yield, but thank you all for joining today.
Thanks, Brandy. I really appreciate that. And thanks to your leadership as chair of the board. I'm going to go in the order that I saw people's hands go up from the board. And so I believe I saw Priya's first, and then Ed, then Ari.
Great. Priya Jayachandran, National Housing Trust, proud DC Green Bank board member. Thank you for the hearing. Echo Brandy's comments. First and foremost, very grateful to the team. I think about what I'm most proud of is, as a board member, is the work we've done to seed and nurture the amazing leadership team at the helm of DC Green Bank, and really grateful to Jean for stepping in, really doing two jobs, the interim CEO and the CFO role so capably, and for that growth in starting up a brand new organization, a quasi-government one, isn't easy, and it's been an amazing trajectory, and going from that 4 to 27 million over the past year is a real feat. As Brandy said, I think the Inflation Reduction Act is looking forward to the wind at our sails over the coming year, and how that we can leverage that to do much more. Thank you.
Thanks, Priya. I really appreciate that. Ed, go ahead.
Thank you so much, Gary. Listen, I don't really want to belabor or take up too much time here. I just want to certainly echo the comments of our board chair, as well as the comments of Priya. This has been a very exciting opportunity. I'm just beside myself and honored and proud that we were able to not only stand up such a new and important entity, but also begin to thrive and to grow. You know, for myself personally, the last 15 years of my career have been focused on renewable energy and green energy opportunities, and this is just, you know, the culmination of a lot of that work, not just through the work that we've seen through the smaller green banks, but also the development of, you know, the National Green Bank and we will be able to accomplish going forward, having the Inflation Reduction Act and the support of the entire nation behind us and behind this kind of green financing effort. So I'm excited about not just the renewable energy and energy efficiency, but also the sustainability and resiliency specifically for our region that's just so important. So we've got a lot ahead of us. We've been able to establish an organization, an entity, and have been able to grow it. But I am so excited about the future and what the potential impact that this financing arm will have for the district and the district's residents all across every ward.
Thank you so much for that, Ed, and thank you for your leadership as secretary of our board. Ari, and then Rick, please.
Yeah, I just want to chime in as well with my thanks and appreciation for Brandy for chairing this board since its inception. To Jean for stepping in and filling this important role and doing so with grace and an enormous amount of effectiveness. I've also just want to remark that over the past year, not only has the Green Bank's financial performance improved, which is wonderful in and of itself, but even better from my perspective is that financial reporting has improved considerably. I have a lot more confidence in numbers that are put before the board than I did a year ago. And that is to the credit of everybody who's working over in the Green Bank, and in particular, Jean, who is just doing a phenomenal job making sure that reporting is done in a way so that we, the board and the public, and all of our stakeholders can understand what it is that this organization is doing and why it's doing it. So thank you for that. Thanks, Gary.
Thanks, I really appreciate that. And for your leadership and partnership over at DOEE. It's a really important partnership for us and looking forward to continuing to strengthen that. Rick?
Thank you, everyone. I'll keep this short. I think a lot of the points made by my colleagues on the board have been well made. But for me personally, I've worked for many, many years in the climate change space, mostly internationally. So it's been a great privilege and pleasure to be able to support an organization like DC Green Bank that's in my backyard, where you see the results as you even drive around town. It's been really a fantastic opportunity. But what I would just leave other listeners and folks who are thinking about where this organization is and where it started, just keep in mind, it really was only a little over 2 years ago that we started from a standing start with not a single employee, with a great piece of legislation and with a volunteer board primarily, and then members of the board from the city government. And so there's been a lot that's been accomplished, and I think the staff and team should be proud of themselves. The pipeline you've heard of from Jean, the deployment that you've heard from Jean, all that happened in quite a short period of time, and doing it during the same time that we're dealing with the pandemic. So I think kudos to everyone involved. And then the last thing I'll note, just because I think this person's been a huge part of this success, is our chair, Brandy Colander, who this is not her full-time job, but I'm sure for sometimes it probably felt like a full-time job for Brandy. She's done a phenomenal job of providing leadership on the board for all of us, and I would also like to thank her. And with that, I'll.
Thanks, Rick. Really appreciate that. And Jean, I don't know if you wanted to follow up there and say anything now that we've heard from the board.
Just to say, I think one of the things I'm most proud of is I think I was a third employee hired here, and to see come in, well, we started online during the pandemic, but to see the trajectory of where we started in 2020 to where we are now, this is my baby. And so it's like having this beautiful child that you sort of incubate to where we are and where we're planning to go to. I'm exceptionally proud. I know we could not have done it without the board. The board has been, our champion with the various outside partner, with the city, with the mayor, or partners that we worked with, to be able to supply them with their needs to help the mayor's mission for GHG mission and just a cleaner, healthier, inclusive DC. I am just really proud and happy to be here, and just wanted to say thanks again.
Thanks for that, Jean, and thanks to the entire board for your leadership. And it's a volunteer position, and we know it takes a lot of your time. So thank you for doing that and helping us to deliver the impact that we do across the city. The next part of our annual public hearing is the public part. We want to hear from folks in the city about our performance and what they want to see from us in the future. And we had some people indicate interest in speaking today. And so we're going to turn to that. When you hear your name, I'm going to elevate you to speak. Some of the folks I'm not sure have logged in just yet, but I'm actually going to turn now to Catherine Ferguson. Matthias Paustian from Sierra Club signed up to speak, but Catherine, I know that you are a part of that group as well. And so I wanted to see if you wanted to speak at this time. Catherine, can you hear us? Okay, we might be able to get Catherine in a little bit later. She said she's not able to speak at this time. So the next person that indicated interest was Ahmed Hajat, who I don't see logged in at this time. So I think we'll keep going through the list here. Adrian Davis was the next person that indicated that they would be interested to speak. And I don't see Adrian at this time either. I want to remind everybody that there's time throughout today's public hearing to ask questions and engage. So you don't have to provide your comments now. You may want to wait till you hear more from us before you do that. But I'll keep moving through the list. I do see Mansi Talwar. And so Mansi, if you'd like to speak, I'm promoting you to a panelist now to be able to address our public hearing. Mansi, can you hear us?
Yes, I can hear you. I was trying to unmute. Thank you for the opportunity. This is my first attendance to the board meeting. My intent was to listen mostly and get to understand the Green Bank more. So I don't have any comments at this time.
Great. Thank you so much, Mansi, and appreciate you joining us. If it's your first one or your third one, it's important that we hear from people and that we have this opportunity to address the public. So thank you for being with us today. And Jay Wilson, you also indicated that you might be interested in providing comment. And so I'm going to promote you to a panelist now to see if you'd like to make some comments. Jay, can you hear us? Hi, Jay, can you hear us?
Yep, maybe I'm on now.
Yes. Hi, Jay.
Thank you. I don't have any comments at this time. Great to hear about the great work the Green Bank is doing. Congratulations on all the success.
Thank you very much, Jay, and appreciate you being with us today. And thank you to everyone that was able to join. Like I said, we're going to talk about some of our performance for the year. And then we will have another opportunity, two more opportunities for the audience to jump in with questions and answers. And this is a reminder that at the bottom of your screen, you should see a Q&A function in order so that you can submit questions and we can either answer them verbally or we can have you ask them out loud as well. So thanks to those that are joining us. And now we're going to turn back to our interim CEO and Chief Financial Officer as we move through our presentation here. And please do use the chat function if you have questions.
Thanks, Gary. On this slide, we outlined here what our 2021 board approved budget was compared to what our actual performance was. And then we're also talking about our 2022 budget that was approved by the board. There is not a whole lot of information here to go into, except to say that between 2021 board approval and 2021 actual results, we performed under budget. So we're going in the right direction in terms of budget approval to actual expenses. And that's one of the things that I try to pay very close attention to, and to make sure as we work towards financial sustainability and financial independence in the next couple of years, that we're monitoring our actual expenses. Even if we have it in the budget, it doesn't necessarily mean that we need to spend that. So that has been sort of my ethos since I started here in 2020. Next slide, Gary. This slide here is what Ari mentioned before. We just completed our 2022 year-end audit. Clean opinion for the last 3 years, we have managed to get clean opinions from our auditors, and that's something that we strive to do. The team is very passionate about making sure that we're dotting our I's and crossing our T's when it comes to providing the compliance around our reporting, our expenditure, the monies that we're receiving from the government for the SETF and REDF fund, that it's recorded properly in the right buckets, and that we can account for every penny we spend. And so to be able to say we have successfully gotten clean opinions from our auditor for the last 3 years is really a feather in our cap. The deployment is one thing, but to be able to substantiate what is it that we're doing in the organization for the auditors to come in, do the reports, do their testing, and to be able to give us a clean opinion is amazing. The other thing to note here on our audit, we have to submit our financial information to the OCFO's office as well. So they also do a check and balance for us, and we've gotten clean opinions from them as well. So it's really, the proud moment on our 2022 performance. It goes beyond just the deployment. It goes beyond how are we internally setting up our structure and our reporting and our accounting, so that we're not only complying with what we set for ourselves as a measure, but to make sure that we're measuring up to what the government has set out for us and what the auditor is expecting. Next slide, Gary. This is also a statement of net position from our audited financial statement. We just literally take the numbers in because the audit is complete. We have to submit the final audit to the OCFO's office by next Thursday, the 15th. And so the auditors are now going through last comments. We submitted it to the Finance Committee and the executive committees. We've gotten some really great responses. We've incorporated those in the statement, and now it's in the hands of the auditors who are doing their final review on those comments, and we should get those back by Friday to be able to have final by the 15th. And this is just telling us what our cash position is. If you look at the loan receivables, we mentioned earlier that there are $27 million deployed. The loan receivable here might be skewed a little if you're looking at it and wondering, but these are the funds that have been deployed. The committed funds is the difference between the 27 and this $14 million. So I just wanted to make sure that the committee and the member of the public that is looking on this will understand the difference. And just to put it out there, if anyone has any questions, our report will be published online and within the district comprehensive annual report as well. We have to roll up into the district. If there are any questions or comments that you have for us, please reach out. We are always willing to talk and explain things further. Next slide, Gary.
This is an opportunity here, like I said before, for folks to put their questions in the Q&A function at the bottom if they have any questions right now about the financial performance of DC Green Bank. It's also an opportunity if any board members want to say anything. You can use the hand raise function if you're a board member, if you'd like to say anything now. But we also will talk about our projects and impact in other ways. So if you want to hold your question until after that, you're free to do so. And we can keep going, and we'll have another opportunity after this next portion of the presentation for people who have questions. But throughout, if you have questions, please put them in the Q&A function at the bottom of your screen, and we can move through those. So we're going to go ahead and move forward, and I'm going to introduce our Chief Operating Officer, Donald Walker, to talk a bit about our projects and impact over the last year. Donald?
Thank you so much, Gary, and welcome to our annual hearing. And I just wanted to, continue to extend my thanks to everyone involved, particularly our board members and the public, for helping us to be able to really think about the impact in the projects that we have, specifically our partners as well, who have been able to work with us in so many different ways to be able to really make an impact here in DC. Alongside the financial performance that Jean has highlighted already, it's really important to know that we are tracking our progress in a variety of different ways as well. And so DC Green Bank has 4 specific sector areas that we are putting our investments in, those being green buildings, solar, stormwater resilience, and clean transportation. When we look at our fiscal year 22, we were really fortunate to be able to significantly increase the amount of capital that we've had deployed, which has been highlighted several times. But we've also diversified our portfolio as far as our sector impact is concerned as well. And so we've had 9 projects that were specifically focused on solar, 9 projects that were specifically focused on green buildings, and then 3 projects that also included and were focused on stormwater resilience, which I think as we continue to grow and think about how we are making specific impact in the district, those 4 areas are things that we find very important and are really fortunate to be able to have worked with different partners to be able to make those impacts across the district. What's even more important is as we look at the amount of investment that we've unlocked. And so as we talked about the approximately $27 million that DC Green Bank has deployed, which as you can see on the graph on the right-hand side below, is a significant impact and improvement from our first 2 fiscal years. The biggest piece is that a lot of the projects that we're working on, we're not funding solely, and we're working with different partners across the district to be able to unlock some additional funding. And with the $27 million that we deployed, we were able to also unlock an additional $134 million with partner capital, with a total of $153 million that was unlocked across the board based on the investments that we've made. And I think that that's a huge impact that will continue to mark its way for us to be able to get to the ambitious goals that the mayor and city council have put out for sustainability across the board. And we can go to the next slide. Even more of an impact as we talk about climate and community impact, some different areas that we are measuring here is that with all of our projects, we were able to, with all of the solar projects, we were able to contribute in our annual energy production. There was a little over 9,000 megawatts of renewable energy that was produced. We were able to reduce greenhouse gas reductions by 6,820 tons. We were also able, with all of the different projects across the board, able to create 770 jobs in the district, and then also retained 14,525 gallons of stormwater, which is not flowing into the river systems that we hear, which are really helping to make a huge impact on our community as well. Next slide. We wanted to highlight just a few projects here before we have some of our partners talk about some of the projects and the impact that they were making. But a few of the projects that we wanted to highlight to really show some of the difference that the capital that we're working with is making in the district. We've been able to work with Posigen, which was our largest deal to date. And the project specifically is helping to support deployment of solar energy to 350 homes. And so this was a $7 million total loan And again, here we've been able to deliver 3,600 megawatts of hours of annual renewable electricity, which helps to reduce the greenhouse gas emission by 200 or 2,500 carbon dioxide tons annually, which I think is a huge impact that Posigen is being able to make, especially in the residential community. What's nice about this project is that all 8 wards in the city are impacted because of residential. Posigen is working with local developers and minority-owned developers to be able to help to deploy this residential solar. And so we're really, really proud of the impact that we were able to make with this project. Next slide. We were also working with Rain Plan, and the partnership here benefits DC residents by delivering cleaner air and waterways, and also reducing our greenhouse gas emissions. This $2.5 million project, again, helps to increase some private property participation and being able to make sure that the stormwater drainage is regulated in some different ways. And then being able to also to create a green infrastructure marketplace that helps to connect owners and government environmental incentives, which is really important. And again, multiple wards across the city were impacted, and stormwater is just one of those things that, especially from a sustainability lens, that really helps to make an impact here in the city. And so as we think about what stormwater retention is doing and how it is reducing urban heat island impacts, we're really proud of this program as well. One of the joint venture participations that we were able to work with is the Latino Economic Development Center, or LEDC, to be able to do a project size pool of $1 million to be able to help community serving organizations and small businesses to be able to make an impact on the buildings that they have. This is really helping families to build and preserve their financial assets. And then also it really helps us when it comes down to community development, community leadership, and civic engagement, especially in wards 5, 7, and 8, which are a lot of times are disproportionately under-resourced. And so being able to work with LEDC to be able to provide impact here is something that we're also really proud of. And so the point of a lot of the projects that we have here is to be able to continue to make sure that we're not just making sustainability impacts, which is our #1 goal, but we're thinking about how we're doing this in the most equitable way across the city to make sure that all of the residents that can be impacted are. The other thing that we're also really proud of in this past October, the DC PACE program shifted over to being administered by DC Green Bank. And in that short period of time, we've been able to close 8 projects that total $19.8 million in the past fiscal year. It's also generating really good income. And also there's $11.7 million that were closed subsequent to the conclusion of FY22, since before we became the administrator of the program. And so again, the DC PACE program is just another way for us to be able to finance multifamily residential, community healthcare, residential apartments, and other projects across the district to make sure that there's another option for people who are interested in doing some financing when it comes down to green projects. This is another option, and we're really proud to be able to work with some former partners and administer this program now. And then generally speaking, as part of our mission, DC Green Bank has been out in the community in a variety of different ways. We've really been active in helping to educate about clean energy finance and how to help to get businesses in the community engaged in understanding what clean energy finance is and how they can participate. This is just a list of a few different areas that we've been able to impact and be out in the streets and really helping to talk to our community a little bit more about. We've had a variety of different media appearances and just really continuing to focus on how do we spread the word about DC Green Bank and all of the accomplishments that we have, and specifically how can we help to really help the district to be able to get to its sustainability goals by 2032 and then also by 2050. And so we've been hard at work here at DC Green Bank and are really looking forward to the upcoming year to really think about what we can do in the future as well to continue to create an impact in the district.
Thanks, Donald. Really appreciate that. And if you're in the audience and you have questions about the financial performance or what we've been doing over the last year, based on something you just heard, please put that into the Q&A function at the bottom of your screen. And while you're doing that, I want to give Jean, I want to give you a chance to jump in here if you have anything else you want to add about the financial performance, about the rapid escalation in our investment over the last year, how much we've been out in the community, or anything else as people are building up the courage to type a question in the box at the bottom.
Thanks, Gary. I think the one thing I wanted to add here, it's about the community engagement. One of the things we have been talking about internally is how do we show up differently in 2023? Getting the board participation in some of these events, I think, is crucial for us. We do a lot of street fairs, and I think getting some of the partners involved as well when we go out in the community so they can have live examples of what the work we're doing and what the impact and how it will impact them. So going forward, you know, the partners or even the public, if you're interested in joining us, we'll be reaching out to people and saying, hey, we'll be out in wards 5, 6, 7, wherever. We'll have a booth. We would love you to join us so you can meet and greet the community and be interactive. So for 2023, calendar 2023, as we are resetting ourselves and trying to figure out how do we show up differently to the community, to our partners, engaging the board more, engaging our partners more. We would love to get you to join us when we go out to these street fairs, because we meet so many people who doesn't even know what the Green Bank is. So to just be able to explain to them what we do, who we are, where we're located, what our mission is, it's been very exciting. So just to give a fair warning, you'll be getting invitations from us when we go back, when we start our next round of street events and fairs. So that's just to add there, Gary. Thank you.
Thanks, Jean. Appreciate that. And that goes both ways. If we're going to be out at something, we're going to let the public know. But if you have an event that you know about or you think it'd be important for us to be there, please reach out. Don't be shy and let us know that we need to be there. And we'll do our best to make sure that we have part of our team representing us there and to talk and engage and listen. We do have a question here that I'm going to read out loud. And I promise I'm just reading this. This is not something I'm making up here. Catherine from Sierra Club applauds DC Green Bank's excellent work. So thank you for that, Catherine. And we appreciate your partnership. You and Matthias and Mark and others have been very good about engaging with us and holding us to account, and are a big reason we made the electrification commitment that Jean reminded us all about in her opening remarks. And so Catherine's question was, would DC Green Bank be able to provide loans for residential heat pumps? And so I'm going to put that to Jean first. But Donald, if you want to weigh in as well, please feel free.
Great question, Catherine. And, you know, I'll echo what Gary said about our partnership and us communicating and sharing information. I think one of the things that we, you know, when Eli was here and we as an organization have thought about and tried to do strategically is how do we get private residents involved in the clean economy? Because we are technically a commercial institution. We don't lend to private citizens. So what we have done so far is to partner with Clear Energy Credit Union, who provides loans to residents for the clean economy. I'm not sure, Gary, and I would have to check, Catherine, to see if that is part. I know we're doing solar and we just are standing up the electric vehicle portal in that partnership we have with Clear Energy Credit Union. what we realize is that in order for us to be inclusive and to provide equal prosperity to DC residents, we have to figure out a way how we can serve the individual homeowners. The best way to do that is to partner with CDFI. I have Jeffrey from City First here. The LEDC joint venture that Donald talked about is serving that sector. So for us is keep working with partners who are more geared towards the residential platform, provide loan loss reserve, or to provide a lending pool agreement so that those citizens are not left behind. It's a long way to say, I am not specifically sure if that is included in the Clear Energy Credit Union, but we can find out and I'll send you an email about that.
Thanks, Jean. Donald, shake your head, yes or no, whether you want to add anything there. That's a no.
No, I think Jean covered it.
Thanks, Donald. And just an additional flavor I'll add is, as Jean talked about in her opening statement, and Brandy lifted up as well, and Ed and others, there are a lot of federal dollars coming through that can be invested, but also tax breaks coming through for these types of investments. So it's something that we want to make sure that we are involved in, even if it's not lending directly to individual residents, which we're not able to do at this time, is to make sure that we are able to provide financing to those who will be installing residential heat pumps, and trying to make sure that we can be a part of accelerating the deployment of that exciting new and improving technology. So thank you for that question, Catherine, and thank you for your ongoing partnership as well. It's really important that advocates across the city communicate with us, and we're going to look for additional opportunities to do that in the new year. I want to remind folks.
Can I just making sure that everyone who is on this hearing today, to know that the team is available. You don't necessarily have to ask the question now. If you feel like you need to do it later on, just reach out to any one of us on the DCGV team, and we'll make sure that your questions are answered. And any comments that you have as feedback for us, we're open to that. So don't feel pressured to ask the question right away, but just to know that we're available after this hearing always to answer any questions.
Thank you, Jean. That's really helpful. And please do feel free to type into the Q&A box at the bottom of the screen at any time. But now we're going to turn to what I think is one of the most exciting parts of our public hearing, is to hear from our partners who have worked with us, who we have financed projects with, who understand DC Green Bank and what we're trying to achieve in the city and the role that we play. So we're going to start off with Gilbert Campbell. He's the CEO and founder of Volt Energy. He is joining us from vacation. He's taken a minute out from his family because he understands how important this work is. And so Gilbert, go ahead.
Thank you, Gary, excuse me. Yes, and happy to be on vacation, but to your point, this is important for me to be here and share the great work that DC Green Bank is doing and how it's helping firms like ours scale and really make impacts in communities that have been left behind as we're talking about moving towards a just transition to clean energy. But first, I really would like to thank the board. Many of you I've had a chance to get to know for your commitment for governance and oversight for the DC Green Bank, and particularly for Brandy Colander for your leadership, a national leader in this space. But we're lucky to have you as the board chair for DC Green Bank. But also want to shout out Jean. It's hard to step in wearing multiple hats into a interim CEO role seamlessly, and things really continue to do well. And so, Jean, thank you for your leadership. It's been great to work with you, from the inception, as well as with Donald, Gary, and the rest of the DC Green Bank team. The team is small, but the team is mighty. And the thing that I appreciate the most about the team, look, getting a loan from DC Green Bank is, yes, it's a Green Bank, but the diligence is this on par when we deal with, large multinational banks. Where the real difference though is the commitment to community and really figuring out how to be a partner. A lot of banks say that, but DC Green Bank lives that. And so I'll give a few examples of that, but I would just to briefly like to highlight the work that we're doing at Howard University and the role that DC Green Bank is playing in that. So as Gary mentioned, I'm the CEO and founder of a company called Volt Energy. We're based in Washington, DC, but we're a national firm. We develop and own and operate solar projects on rooftops of universities, large companies like the Cheesecake Factory, and some of our clients include Pepco and a host of other large corporations as well. What's near and dear to my heart, two things that I'm passionate about in running this business is one, making sure that the clean energy industry looks more like America. And we have a lot of ways to go as it relates to diversity, equity, and inclusion. And then secondly, is making sure that young people, in particular young people of color, are looking at clean energy as a potential career path, whether it be to start their own businesses or for lucrative careers in this space and being able to make a difference as we move to decarbonizing all aspects of our society. So at Howard, we are developing over 2 megawatts of solar in total all throughout campus. And in that process, this is the largest on-site solar project at an historically Black college, university, or HBCU. And so one of the things when we set out to develop these projects, representation matters. And it was important for me that our company is a long-term owner and operator of these projects, so the students can see that you can own infrastructure assets in a growing industry. So, so DC Green Bank, the role that served is providing us with the construction loan to develop these projects. And, we've successfully closed on the loan. Many of the projects are almost at mechanical completion. We're looking forward to some exciting ribbon cutting announcements that will come out in the very near future. I've had the opportunity to testify on numerous occasions before Congress about once it was called Build Back Better than the Inflation Reduction Act. But one of the things that, I was testifying about was the importance of climate equity and the importance of green banks. And for that reason, the Biden administration appreciates the impact of this project because it's funded by a green bank. It's being developed by an African-American developer firm. Students, excuse me. My wife was FaceTiming me. Students at Howard have participated, and I set a mandate for all of our subcontractors that they're hiring students as interns in full-time positions. I can honestly say that every one of our subcontractors has had an intern that's a Howard student. We've also provided over $20,000 of scholarships to students on campus. And just recently, our tax equity investor was visiting on campus, and DC Green Bank happened to come out the same day, and we had an opportunity for both to meet. And impromptu, Gene and some other staff met with me and the dean of the School of Business, and we really talked about, what is the art of the possible? How can we get students engaged to understand project finance, infrastructure finance? And Gene offered up, along with our tax equity investors, a large multinational bank, how to really mentor some of these students and share the experiences that's learned. That's above and beyond job responsibilities as a CEO. That's caring about the community and the next generation of our future leaders. And so the project, like I said, is over 2 megawatts. It's great because it's helping Howard is, on their path to decarbonization. Has led to them now doing a full-blown sustainability study. But the most important thing is students on campus are so excited about this project. I've met with students through town halls at least 4 times, talking about this project, environmental justice, and how they can get engaged. So overall, like I said, this is the epitome, I think, of where we need to be as we're decarbonizing our, power sector, transportation sector, electrifying our building sector. We really have to do it in a way that's inclusive of all communities, and particularly communities that have been in the forefront of environmental injustices. So I really appreciate DC Green Bank's partnership, allyship, and leadership to make this happen. And the last thing I'll just close on is by doing this project at Howard, coupled with other projects, just giving the opportunity to do these type of things has also helped me as an African-American entrepreneur scale my business. I started a new business called Volt Energy Utility, where we're now developing utility scale solar, and we signed a record-breaking deal with Microsoft for 250 megawatts, which is the largest solar deal between an African-American solar developer and a major Fortune 500 corporation. I'm not saying that to brag. I'm saying that just the type of work and investment of organizations like DC Green Bank does, the impact that has for companies like us who are trying to do the right thing in communities. So I'll shut up there. I'm going back on vacation. If anyone wants to talk offline at any point, I'm happy to sing the praises of DC Green Bank because it's real. So thank you.
Thanks, Gilbert, and really appreciate you stepping out of vacation to join us and delivering that message. And we'll be in touch soon. Have fun with your family.
Thank you.
So remember, if you have questions, please put them in the chat at the bottom. I know Gilbert has to drop off, but other folks are with us. And next, we're gonna move to another great partner, and it's Nicole Whalen. She's CEO and founder of Green Compass. Nicole, go ahead and share your screen if you can. I'll stop sharing mine.
Great, thank you, Gary. Let me get the screen share going. Still says I'm disabled as a participant from screen sharing. But while we're working on the screen share, I can get going on the speaking part. Can always add the slides later. But good afternoon from DC on this rainy day. And my name is Nicole Whalen, and I'm the founder and president of Green Compass. We are a green tech company working to transition low carbon buildings from novelty to norm. Green Compass collaborates with a network of service providers and consolidates green building services to make it easy for property owners to optimize, electrify, and decarbonize commercial and multifamily buildings. We're able to eliminate upfront costs through performance contracts and power purchase agreements. And we're also pioneering the district's innovative stormwater market with the help of DC Green Bank, where we're building, designing, and operating green infrastructure installations like bioretention gardens, tree pits, and infiltration trenches that capture and clean thousands of gallons of runoff every rainstorm at no cost to the property owners. We are focusing on expanding our green infrastructure and our tree canopies in low-income communities to reduce pollution and heat islands that are inequitably concentrated in communities of color. These mini water treatment facilities that we build are powered by photosynthesis rather than electricity, and they avoid intensive costs and emissions associated with sewers and water treatment plants. They also generate valuable utility savings for property owners and stormwater retention credits for Green Compass. We finalized a loan facility with the district's Green Bank last year in 2021 to finance and scale our installations in Ward 5, 7, and 8. And then our goal was to install 10,000 square feet of new green infrastructure across 5 sites. And currently we're on track to build more than 20,000 square feet of green infrastructure across 7 sites. And it's going to clean more than 300,000 gallons of stormwater every single rainstorm event. So it's not just an annual thing, but it's every rainfall event. That's 300,000 gallons of stormwater that will not enter the sewer system and overflow into the rivers untreated. And we use the loan facility with DC Green Bank to pay for the construction of these installations. And thanks, Gary, for getting the slide up. Having DC Green Bank as a financing partner has been a key pillar of support to grow our green infrastructure portfolio, especially with client acceptance of project proposals. Clients don't always know what a green bank is, but when we say we're working with DC Green Bank, it creates a layer of legitimacy that people feel like they should know what the green bank is. And it also is building community because the DC Green Bank isn't just funding the construction of these projects, they're showing up to actually plant the trees alongside the community members at these projects. Jean, Gary, Gabriella, Donald, and board members as well have all participated at our tree planting events. And we look forward to even more tree planting next year, growing our installations in 2023. And hopefully in the spring, we should be planting about 80 trees at our next site. So yeah, Gary, we can run through some of the slides. They're just photos of our 2022 spring tree planting. And it's really is a great day to be able to connect, not just having the team get together, and we're not just relaying over internet and emails, but hand in hand, shovel in hand with pickaxes, working alongside the community to plant trees. And just thanks. And just for a little background on Green Compass, we're a for-profit company, we're mission driven, and it's to decarbonize the building sector by 2050. And we're doing that by retrofitting our energy and water systems. Next slide. And the 4 ways that we target that is through renewable energy projects, green infrastructure, EV chargers and battery storage, and also efficiency upgrades for both energy and water systems. And if you'd like to connect with us, here's my email and phone number. Love to hear from you. And invite any members of the community to also volunteer at our tree plantings as well. Thanks, Gary.
Thank you, Nicole. Thank you so much for being a good partner and for bringing these types of projects to DC Green Bank. It's one of our core sectors, as everyone heard about earlier in the presentation. And so we've loved working with you on that. And also joining for the tree planting. I guess I've done two. I saw my bearded face on there. And so thanks for making those opportunities available to us as a staff. And I certainly second your recommendation for those members of the public on the call now to try to join as well. Again, if people have questions for some of our partners that are joining, please feel free to drop those into the chat at the bottom. We will keep moving, however, and I am frantically trying to switch back and forth here between different presentation styles. So we are back up here. Okay. Thanks again, Nicole. And we'll move forward. I also want to encourage board members, if they have thoughts as we move through these presentations, to jump in. But next, we are going to move to Thomas Houston and Kadeen Grant of Medici Road. Thomas and Kadeen, thank you for making time for us today, and I will move through your slides at your pace.
Perfect. Thank you very much, everybody. Good afternoon. My name is Thomas Houston.
And I'm Kadeen Grant.
And we're here today to talk about the partnership between Medici Road and DC Green Bank. You can go to the next slide. I want to just take a quick second to introduce us. We are a community development corporation, and we look to figure out how to connect dots between education, public health, and housing, and racial equity as a way to reduce poverty. And for us to do that through really 4 ways. One is the discovery of data with evaluation and research, and then using that data to find policy, to create programs and design new concepts or new products. And our biggest concept right now is real estate, which is how we get to the DC Green Bank partnership. Next slide. I want to take just a quick second to talk about what that partnership, can you go back one? Perfect. Quick second to talk about what that partnership means to us. It was a really good opportunity to focus on pre-development. And we're going to talk a little bit more about this project called Deanwood Station. Deanwood Station really mirrors what Atlantic Station is in Atlanta, which was started as a landfill, but turned into a model of what live work could look like to change the neighborhood. We believe Deanwood Station would be the same thing. So if we go to the next slide, we were able to partner with DC Green Bank, who gave us an $850,000 loan to do pre-development. And we were able to use that pre-development to really focus in on solving major issues like water tables and some other sustainability issues that we believe we can use for our eventual low to moderate income home buyers. And so we're going to end up with about 7,000 square feet of commercial on the 2 floors with 26 low to moderate income for sale housing on top. And so it's really important to get that water table correct. It was really important to get the issues around stormwater management correct. And we spent a lot of time with our architects really thinking through what efficiency meant on the inside of the building. So not just windows, but efficient airflow through the hallways. And so really we're able to use those funds. And what's also really exciting, if you hit click really quickly, was through DC and Green Bank, we were able to find a partnership with Flywheel. And so through that partnership, we're now entering into the process to get solar for all. And so right now, we haven't had to spend any money on solar, which we're going to end up using to be able to lower electric costs on that all electric building for those low to moderate income homeowners. Next slide, please. And so that really matters for us. That loan did something really specific. And that specific thing, it allowed us to focus our current operational dollars on other things. And those other things were hiring employees and really launching a couple of programs. I'm going to introduce Kadeen Grant to talk about that.
Thank you. Next slide. So this year, Medici Road launched our Management Masterclass program. And this program was important for two reasons. We were able to provide food and hospitality workers with management skills and concepts. And that was important because we know that management training is expensive and sometimes cost prohibitive. Next slide. Medici Road values output and impact, right? So for this year, 48 people between April and August completed our program. They gained industry recognized certifications, as well as learned management skills and received one-on-one career training. This is important because 25% of our participants were hired as new entrants into the hospitality industry, but many of them also reported that they felt comfortable and prepared to enter the industry. They also was the potential, they entered the industry with the potential to command higher wages, which is important, right? For a couple of reasons. Higher wages meant that participants had more money to spend in their neighborhoods. It also meant that there was more tax dollars to fund resources and infrastructure in those neighborhoods. Next slide. Looking ahead in our partnership with DC Green Bank, we hope to kind of mirror the process or replicate the process used in the masterclass process to provide sustainable development projects, including insulation, solar, and water efficiency. I'm going to hand it back to Thomas to close us out.
Thank you for that, Kadeen. And so we're really looking forward to what this partnership could look like. We, after the success with the first one, we now have in the pipeline one program and one product that we think will be able to allow us to grow workforce opportunities in sustainable construction, as well as products around solar, water efficiency, and insulation. So we look forward to coming back for that partnership to discover what some more products and partnerships can look like with DC Green Bank. With that, Thomas Houston, Medici Road.
And Kadeen Grant.
Thank you very much for your time today.
Thank you to both Thomas and Kadeen for joining us and making that excellent presentation. It's really a project that is bringing something innovative to DC and has the potential to bring a lot to that community. So thank you for that and sharing that experience. And you also made time for us last year as well, for the annual public hearing. So we appreciate your continued partnership here. Again, if you have questions, please put them in the chat at the bottom. But with that, we're going to move on to our friends at Flywheel. Jessica Pitts is the co-founder of Flywheel Development. Jessica, thanks for making time for us today, and go ahead.
Thanks, Gary, and thanks, Thomas, for that shout out. And we're thrilled about the partnerships that form between folks that work with the DC Green Bank, as well as working directly with the DC Green Bank. So I'm thrilled to see you here as well. So thank you for inviting me here to speak about our experience working with the DC Green Bank. As Gary mentioned, I'm the co-founder and CEO of Flywheel Development. We're a local DC company, and both myself and my business partner are district residents. We're an impact developer, and we partner with communities to strengthen their foundations and to help them realize their vision of becoming resilient, equitable, and sustainable places to live. We partner with communities that are often overlooked or underrepresented in the green economy. So in 2022, we partnered with the DC Green Bank to bring clean electricity to district residents that needed the most. The DC Green Bank provided construction financing for 1.7 megawatts of solar for all projects, and those were predominantly located in wards 7 and 8. And those projects will produce enough electricity to support approximately 500 district households through the program. So these households will receive 50% electricity bill reductions for 15 years. And we also invested in the communities that we partnered with to host the Solar for All projects, completing roof repairs, doing wholesale re-roofings of buildings, and providing them with other financial benefits to host the community solar. And this really enables these communities that we work with to participate in the clean economy and to feel like they're doing their part to help the district transition to a more just and equitable environment as well. We also successfully brought an innovative technology to the district, and that's the image that you see here that Gary put up. This is a solar roof shingle product. It's called SunStyle, and it represents not just another solar installation, but is really emblematic of where we see the future of sustainable built environment and the clean economy going. I think it's the beginning of a transformation away from sustainable infrastructure as separate or as in addition to the materials of yesterday, and really moving towards a future where sustainability is truly integrated into our surroundings, into our homes and our office buildings. And I think this is a really important point that can't be overstated. We have to move away from the notion where sustainability and the clean economy are extra or optional to where it's really embedded in what we do. And to us, I think the DC Green Bank is really filling a gap in financing for the clean and sustainable projects that are currently on the cutting edge or that currently fall outside the rubric of traditional lending. And while I'm hopeful that over time, more lenders will move in that direction, the fact of the matter is that the DC Green Bank and other green banks around the country are really essential to building out an equitable, clean economy. They are essential to fully embedding sustainability and clean projects into business as usual. And I think they'll remain essential for many years to come. And I think I also want to talk, in addition to the environmental and direct economic benefits created by the DC Green Bank's financing, I also want to talk about what it means for local jobs and reinvestment in people, because ultimately it's people that build these projects and it's people that participate in these opportunities. So my company works almost exclusively with minority-owned and women-owned business enterprises. And this past summer, we had about 30 team members actively working on our Solar for All projects financed by the Green Bank. We continue to build capacity, we continue to build talent, and I'm currently planning on expanding our team, investing in more training for team members, and growing our capabilities even more. And I think this has all been, I want to really make it clear that this has all been made possible by the DC Green Bank and by the DC Green Bank support of our work to bring these projects to the district. So I just really can't overstate the importance of the DC Green Bank enough in helping companies like mine make a difference for district families, make a difference in the clean economy and the environment. And the DC Green Bank will continue to be a critical partner for us as we grow and evolve. And I especially want to thank all of the DC Green Bank team members for all of your hard work. We've been partners with the Green Bank for multiple years now, and it's just really evident that everybody on the DC Green Bank team feels strongly about the mission to create sustainable impact, to really be more than just a finance provider. And I think that's really, really critical to the mission and the vision and what we're hoping to achieve here in the district. And so I really appreciate all of the work that the DC Green Bank team has done in partnering with my company and in creating these opportunities for us. So thank you so much for the opportunity to be here today and to share my experience working with the DC Green Bank.
Thank you so much, Jessica. And I think it'll stick with me that sustainability is not extra or optional, I think is what you said. And that's something to really stick with all of us. So thank you for making the time for us today and continuing to be a long-standing partner. Flywheel was our first investment back in 2020. And so it's important to make sure we remember those types of things and keep partnerships going. I see Ari Gersman, one of our board members, wants to speak. Go ahead, Ari.
I just wanted to say that this project in particular, the image that we're looking at, it's really emblematic of the kinds of solar loans that the Green Bank should be doing. To be able to deploy innovative technologies in the solar industry is important. It's important to maintain that capability here in the district. And I'm really glad that both Flywheel and the Green Bank took advantage of the opportunity as we were deploying PREFs for Solar for All, that you came with this innovative project and you were able to do a technology demonstration here in the district at a price point that Solar for All was able to incorporate. So thank you for that. Thank you, Jessica. Thank you, Gary. Thank you, Green Bank.
Thanks, Art. We really appreciate that. And DOEE's role in the Solar for All program and making many of these things possible, and the leadership of Mayor Bowser and the City Council to create such a successful solar environment here in DC that we're able to contribute to. Thanks again, Jessica, and we're looking forward to continuing partnering with you. Again, if anybody in the audience has questions, go ahead, Jean.
I have something to say. And Jessica, thank you so much for being here. I remember when I started in September of 2020, you were already part of you're our only client, and working with you from that one facility in 2020, we did the Solar for All 2021, we just did 2022 and getting ready, hopefully to supply funds for you for 2023. But what I'm most proud of, and I don't know if I should take credit, Jessica, is to working with you to stand up the financial profile of Flywheel. You and I working hand in hand, and now to see how sophisticated Flywheel has become, that is part of our mission as well, is to, work with new developers that are coming in and helping them to get ready so that we become another Flywheel, or so they become another Flywheel. It's also part of how we're working with Medici Road. Thomas and I and his team are just working together to say, what else do you need? How can we make your reporting better? How can we make this? So DCGB is here, DC Green Bank is here, providing so much to the community, to developers, not only just to lend the fund, but to help guide. And I think part of that is what we as an organization needs to create that narrative around. We're here for funding, but we're also here to guide and to help small developer become more commercial viable and to grow their business. So thank you so much for being here today to sing our praises, really. So thank you.
Thank you, Jean. Yes, and it was wonderful to work with you during those early days and to be able to build on that. Absolutely. So I appreciate all that you've done.
Thanks, Jessica, and great points, Jean. Okay, last but certainly not least, we're going to hear from another longstanding partner of ours, and I want to start out here by saying that the four folks coming before Jeffrey, we're talking about projects in the ground, building these projects, but it's really important to understand part of the role of DC Green Bank is to crowd in private capital to build partnerships across the financial spectrum. And City First Enterprises has been an indispensable partner for us as a community development financial institution. And so I want to turn now to Jeffrey Shepard, the loan officer and Green Energy Initiatives Manager at City First, to talk a little bit about themselves, what they've done, how they've worked with us, and so on. So Jeffrey, really appreciate you making time to join us today.
Absolutely. Thank you, Gary, and thank you to the rest of the DC Green Bank for having me today. My name is Jeffrey Shepard, and I'm a loan officer and Green Energy Initiatives Manager at City First Enterprises, also known as CFE. And I will be giving you all a brief overview of CFE's work, and then highlighting a recent transaction in which we partnered with the DC Green Bank to advance both of our respective missions. Our CEO, Oswaldo Acosta, wishes he could be here today, but he's a busy man with 2 other board meetings today, so you'll have to settle for me. I could also talk about everything that we do at DC Green Bank. We do a lot of different things. I asked Gary and Jean if I could have 30 minutes, and they politely declined that request, so I'm going to try to keep it brief. Next slide, Gary. First, some background on CFE. We are a Community Development Financial Institution, or CDFI, that is an official certification from the U.S. Department of Treasury. CDFIs all share a common goal of expanding economic opportunity in low-income communities by providing access to financial products and services for local residents and businesses. We are headquartered in DC, and while most of our portfolio is in DC, we lend all over the DMV, including Montgomery and Prince George's County, as well as Baltimore. In fact, we have a great partnership with Montgomery County Green Bank as well. Next slide. So CFE is a multifaceted lender. We do a lot of different things, some of which you can see on this slide. We do affordable multifamily and commercial loans. We do loans for small businesses and community facilities, and loans focused on renewable energy and energy efficiency. And the deal that I'll highlight today is really a combination of CFE's affordable housing lending and its green energy lending. We are in the midst of a housing crisis and a climate crisis. And while at first glance, these might seem like separate issues, they are in fact inextricably linked. The question for CDFIs, such as CFE, is how can we form creative partnerships to address the lack of housing that is both affordable and sustainable. So the project that I'll be discussing is an example of how CFE has partnered with the DC Green Bank for this purpose. Next slide. So at the beginning of the summer, we had a young Black developer, real estate developer, reach out to us. He was looking for funding for the acquisition of 205 20th Street Northeast, just north of RFK Stadium. He was under contract to purchase this property, but he also wanted to do a deep rehab and renovation of the building, and he was having difficulty finding a lender that was willing to work around his project and his limited equity. This developer actually had a really interesting plan for this property. He was going to take this 2-story building that had 4 one-bed, 1-bath units and redevelop it into a 3-story building with a full basement, with each floor containing a 4-bed, 3-bath unit. But that's not all. His plan was to rent out these units to voucher tenants. Not only is there a severe lack of voucher units in the district, but there's even a more substantial lack of units with multiple bedrooms, let alone 4 bedrooms. So this deal was certainly compelling to CFE from a housing affordability standpoint, but even that wasn't all. Next slide, Gary. The developer is going to renovate property into a passive house, so one of the highest energy standards today. He's working with one of the leading experts in passive house construction to accomplish this. So here we see the combination of housing affordability through the voucher program married with high energy efficiency through the passive house building standard. I'll add that at the time, the real estate developer said that his was only one of, I think, 3 passive house projects proposed in the district this year. I cannot verify that, but I think it is indicative of the fact that this is pretty innovative here. And as it turns out, the developer was discussing different aspects of the project, between the acquisition and the construction with CFE and DC Green Bank at the same time. And we quickly turned to one another and said, hey, let's do this together. And it was great that we could work with DC Green Bank on this because we would quickly encounter a challenge with this project. Even though we were excited about this project for the reasons I've already mentioned, it doesn't necessarily mean that appraisers will be equally excited. And what I mean by that is that, well, I think everyone on this call would agree that building to this passive house standard adds significant resilience and value to the property. Appraisers haven't quite caught on to that yet, and that results in relatively high construction costs when compared to the appraised to repair or as complete value of the property. So CFE quickly found itself with a financing gap that needed to be filled, and the clock was ticking on the purchase contract. Luckily for us and the developer, DC Green Bank was up for the task. We worked closely with Jean and her team running through the numbers and the scenarios. Ultimately, the DC Green Bank came in with a vital participation in our $2 million loan that allowed us to move forward with the construction side of the project. Next slide. So this is the developer, Bobby Jones, and I at the title company on the day he closed on the property. You can see that we're both all smiles, although I think he was even happier than I was. Again, CFE was and is very grateful for the partnership that DC Green Bank provided on this project. I am not being hyperbolic when I say we could not have done it without them. And I believe this is the first of many such projects that we will partner with DC Green Bank on that will help us tackle the housing crisis and the climate crisis at the same time. Next slide. So thank you for listening, and thank you to the Green Bank for allowing me to discuss our work together. My email on CFE's website is listed here, and that'll do it for me today. Back to you, Gary.
Thank you, Jeffrey, so much. That was a really compelling presentation, and it got me all excited again about a project I already knew about even before you started talking. But it got me re-excited about it and the things that we could do together with City First Enterprises and the type of innovative work that green banks and CDFIs are able to deliver together now, and even more once the federal dollars start flowing in the coming years. So looking forward to continuing to work with you there. This is not the last opportunity overall, but the last opportunity on this annual public hearing for those still on the Zoom with us to put questions into the Q&A box if you have them. We can try to get to a couple of those if folks have questions before we wrap up here. After that, I would ask that any board members that want to provide any closing remarks use the hand raise function, and then we can move through those, and then we'll hand it back to Jean to close out the annual public hearing. So we'll give people another couple seconds if they have questions to type them in, and then we'll turn to any board members that might want to say something before we close out. Okay, seeing no questions in the Q&A box, I want to turn back to Ari Gersman. Ari, go ahead.
I just want to say that last project, I think, is really emblematic of the work that you're going to see the Green Bank doing over the next few years. CDFIs are a vital partner in deploying the greenhouse gas reduction funds from the EPA. And really everything we do in that space is best served by working with CDFI. So thank you, Jeffrey, for that presentation.
Thanks, Ari. I really appreciate that. And I couldn't agree more. Again, we noted earlier in the call that 75% of the city's emissions come from the built environment. So I agree, they're going to see a lot more projects like that and looking for ways to bring innovative deployments here to the city. Any other board members want to jump in with closing remarks before Jean takes us home? Okay. Jean, let's close out.
Thank you, Gary. The only thing I have left to say again is thank you all for participating. Thanks to the wonderful board we have. Thanks to our employees, as we are doing right now a lunch and learn session where we're at our offices. Everyone is sitting around the table, listening to the public hearing. This is a first for us, and I think it's a good example of where we plan to go in participating in these events. Thanks to our partners for testifying. I've enjoyed working with all of you. You know, City First Enterprise, we're doing so much with you with our small business loan fund, and you doing our servicing for our portfolio, and, you know, just working together on deals. Nicole, I'm looking forward to hearing from you about your next needs in terms of growing the business, and the same for Jessica. Jessica, Flywheel 2022 was just paid off, so we're getting ready to start thinking about the 2023 Solar for All project. Medici Road, Volt. I am so grateful that I'm a part of the work that you're doing, where the staff here is very passionate about what our mandate is and what our role is for the district to help small developers. I'm so proud of what we've done for 2022, and I know 2023 is going to be even a greater year. So I can't wait to be part of the 2023 public hearing. So again, just thank you all for being part of this. Thank you all for being part of our success. Everyone on this call and who is listening is a part of our success. So I just wanted to give a good shout out to just everyone who participated and are here today.
Thanks, Jean, and thanks to everyone that was able to join us. As I noted at the beginning, this call was recorded. It will be up on our website later today, along with the slides that you saw today. And as always, you can reach us at info@dcgreenbank.com. You can stay up to speed with us at dcgreenbank.com, and you can follow us on social media at DC Green Bank. So thanks everyone for joining us. We went over only 1 minute. So thanks to everybody for your contributions. Thanks to our partners for making the time, our board members for your leadership, and the community for being important partners to us. And you will hear from us soon. Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, Gary. Thanks, everyone. Bye.